Self-isolation will be a thing of the past for those who have had both doses of the COVID vaccine and for those under 18. The Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, has said the rules will be scrapped from August the 16th.
It will, of course, have huge implications for businesses and the hospitality industry, where it's caused major headaches around recruitment and retention of staff who come into contact with the public on a regular basis.
So what's changing on August the 16th? Well, there will be no requirements for adults who have had 2 jabs and whose final jab was 2 weeks ago to self-isolate if they come into contact with a case.
Exemption from self-isolation will also apply to under 18s.
Adults who come into close contact with a positive case will be advised to get a PCR test as soon as possible afterwards. Well, what does this announcement mean for pubs? We're now joined by Dave Mountford, co-founder of the Forum of British Pubs. Is 1 month to wait for this to come into force too long?
Hello.
Hello, Dave.
Sorry, over to me.
Yes, thank you for joining us. I was just asking, is this 1 month delay? Is the 1 month delay before these regulations come into force? Is that too long for the hospitality industry?
Yes, it is. It's just another typical example of how this government have treated hospitality and pubs in particular. The situation we find ourselves in is that the governments have been saying for the last year that they've been following the science, and yet suddenly they seem to be ignoring the science. The science seems to be telling them that this is not the best move in the world. They've announced that they're going to release pretty much all of the restrictions. There's an expectation there will be an increase in the virus transmissions. And the people that are going to be affected by that are the people who have not had the jabs. And those are young people. And the pub industry and hospitality predominantly employs young people. We're seeing a lot of pubs around the country being forced to shut already because they haven't got the staff. And the ones that have the staff are having to shut because those staff are being isolated. So it's just another classic example of how we've been treated, unfortunately.
And you're going to look at the telly in a few hours and you're going to see thousands of people. And should England score a goal, and people are going to get close to one another, I'm guessing, there may be the odd hug or something. How will you feel when you've had to go through what you've gone through, still having to go through that, and you see that on the telly?
Well, it's incredibly frustrating. The restrictions that have been placed on the industry have been, draconian. We've adhered to them. We've done pretty much everything that's been asked. I've often said, and I'm more than happy to repeat, that probably the safest industry to come into and spend time in socialising because of the things that we've had to do, which have cost a vast amount of money. And of course, now we're coming out of that in a lot of debt in a very uncertain market. We're seeing things come back to normal as normal as can be, as you say, in events like this evening. But it can't be too critical because obviously we're all very excited about it, and there are a lot of pubs that are benefiting from that, including our own, in a slightly restricted way. But you're quite right; it is very frustrating, really.
I mean, we're now only 10 days away from the huge majority of restrictions being lifted, including table service, because the social distancing rule is going out. Will you be having people prop up the bar again, or is that going to be something that you essentially want to keep in play?
Well, no. I mean, we're very much looking forward to pubs returning to normal and having people come up to us and speaking to us across the bar. There's a much better interaction. Some pubs actually exist on that level of interaction. It's really, really important from a community point of view, which has been somewhat lacking over the last, certainly since we've been reopened. It's going to be very interesting to see how pubs operate, because I suspect there will be an expectation from some customers that is going to be how they see things going forward. But the bottom line is that level of service comes with an increased cost. And that increased cost is unsustainable in the long run. Pubs are operating at around about, on average, 80% of their pre-COVID turnover, and their costs are, on average, 7 or 8% up. So something has to give, and so it's going to be very interesting. But we will, we're going to be encouraging people to return to normal as soon as possible. Within the constraints of what we've got to work with, but more importantly, what our customers feel safe with.
Dave, someone walks into your pub tonight, 10 minutes before kick-off, they've got a Danish flag. Where do you put them?
Well, they wouldn't get in because we're fully booked.
All right. Well, and the score, what do you reckon?
Well, I've said all along that we're going to lose to Italy in the final 1-0, unfortunately. And I got the Germany result right. I think we're going to go through tonight 2-0. I think the goals will be quite late. I think it's going to be the toughest game that we've faced so far, but I think we will go through. I don't think it's going to go to extra time or penalties. And that's my prediction for what it's worth. But
Hey,
but
it's as good as anyone else's.
I suppose so, really. But it's going to be a tough game tonight.
And after the third pint, we might just win it. Dave, really good to see you. Thanks very much for joining us.